Hello viewers, welcome back. I hope you are doing good. Today we are going to solve another question from Blind 75 series. This is Leetcode 20 valid parenthesis. So here will be given a string. A string will have different kind of parentheses and we need to see if it is a valid parenthesis. So valid parenthesis can be considered using some of the given constraint. Like let's say if a open parenthesis is being given, then for that to be closed, we need to have a close parenthesis after that. And also let's say if I have more than one open parenthesis, then the recent one should be closed by same type of the parenthesis. So order also matters. Let's understand this with an example. Before seeing the example, let's also see what kind of parenthesis will be given here. So one would be this kind of bracket, and one would be this curly braces, and one would be this square bracket, and will have a corresponding closing brackets for them. So these are the few examples or few types which we'll be dealing with. So let's see this in an example. So first example is like we have some square bracket as we can see, and so initially we are getting all of the opening brackets, and now I have first time I have encountered a closing bracket. So we know that for a opening bracket to be balanced or closed, we need a closing corresponding closing bracket. So here we see that okay, this particular bracket which has come, which we have encountered here is of the same type. So we can go and balance the square bracket here, and we can easily remove this because we have encountered a similar kind of closing bracket. Similarly, we can see that the last opening bracket which we are left with, we can balance it with the new closing bracket. So again, this can go, and similarly, this will get balanced with this one, and this will get balanced with this one. So that's how we can balance each of it. So we can also see that for them, this string to be balanced, we should have equal number of opening and closing brackets. So if the string length is odd, then we might not have the balance parenthesis. So string length should be even because we need a pair. We need a valid pair. So here we saw that this was a valid pair. Similarly, we can see in this example that this pair is a valid pair because for this opening bracket, opening curly braces, I have this curly braces, the closing curly braces. So this can get balanced. Similarly, this can get balanced with this one, and this finally this will get balanced with this one. So you can also observe that initially we were getting the opening braces, but once we started getting the closing bracket, we have to see the previous or the recent closing bracket, and if they are of same type, then that can be considered as the valid one. Similarly, this will be considered as valid and this will be considered as valid. In all of this example, I've used a single type of parenthesis, but they can be mixed type as well. Like in this example, I have square bracket and this parenthesis and the curly braces. So they can be mixture of that. The only thing is one bracket should be closed by the same type of bracket. So this cannot be closed by this. So this can't be considered as a valid one because for closing a square bracket, I need a closing square bracket only. The opening curly braces can only be closed by a closing curly braces. So that is important. Also, you can see that once we start getting a curly, like in this example we have curly braces, so once I start getting a closing bracket, one should match with the recent one. So this got matched with this, but now again I got a opening bracket, again I got a opening bracket. So now I'm started getting the closing bracket. So this is getting balanced with this one and this is getting balanced with this one. So order is very important here. I can't balance this curly braces with an earlier one, that should be balanced with something else. So whatever is the recent, that is important. And also this will be balanced because this got balanced here, and then this is getting balanced here, this is getting balanced here. Also, if we go, initially we started getting the opening braces, and now I started getting the closing bracket. So this closing bracket is getting balanced with this one, and then we can remove all this, and then we are left with this closing bracket for which we have a left out opening bracket. So that can also be balanced. In this example, if you see, same thing will apply. We have a mixture of all the varieties here. We are seeing opening, 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 and now we got the closing one. So this is getting balanced. Now again I got a opening one, again I got a opening one. So this guys should have to wait. Now I got a closing one, so this got balanced, and then this will get balanced with this one. Now this will be balanced with this one, and this will be getting balanced with this one. So this is how this all are the example of the valid string. Here if we see, we all got opening brackets, and then we started getting closing brackets. So this got balanced, this also got balanced, but at the end we are left with one opening bracket which is not balanced with anyone because we don't have any more character to balance it out. So that is another important criteria, that one closing bracket can only balance a similar kind of opening bracket, and also if we have less number of closing bracket to balance out the opening bracket, then those will not be a valid string, as we have seen in the last example. Now we can draw some observations that if we get an opening bracket, then we might that opening bracket can be part of our my valid string, and that might not be part of the valid string, because we have to see the future values, whatever values we will be getting next. Right now we can't say, because if in future we'll get a equivalent closing bracket, then yeah, it will form a valid substring. But if we'll not get a equivalent valid closing bracket in the future for whatever we are seeing right now, then it might not be part of a valid substring. But the second observation for the closing bracket is, if we are getting a closing bracket, now this closing bracket can have two things. If right before this we had a similar kind of opening bracket, then this can be a valid string, right? This is a valid closing bracket. But if this closing bracket, whatever we have got right now, just prior to this we had a different kind of opening bracket, then we can't form a valid string, and immediately we can say that this particular whole string is not a valid substring, sorry, not a valid parenthesis. So one major thing to observe here is, whenever we are getting closing bracket, we have to check the recent opening bracket, because the recent opening bracket can only decide if my current closing bracket can be used for balancing them out. If my current closing bracket doesn't find a equivalent opening bracket in just recent past, or just like the previous values, then we can just conclude that this is not a valid substring. So now how can we solve it? So one thing is sure, that we need to check the previous values. So for checking the previous values, let's say if we just had a same type of values, we can consider a single type of values, like we only had this kind of parenthesis. For solving this, it would have been really easy. I could have maintained a counter to keep the count of the opening brackets, and whenever I will be getting a closing bracket, I will just reset that counter, and at the end, if I'm not left with anything in that, the my counter value is 0, then that means my string is a valid string. So let's say what we could have done for this example. Here I got one opening bracket, so let's create a counter for the opening bracket. Opening bracket count can go up by 1. Now again I got an opening bracket, so that the count will go up again. Now again I got an opening bracket, so the count will go up again. So total opening bracket count is 3. Now I'm getting a closing bracket, so I can decrease the value of my opening brackets. Now the value has become 2. Now I'll come here and again I'll decrease the value. So value has become 1. Again I'll got an closing bracket, so I'll just decrease the value by 1. So now at the end, when I have processed everything in the string, the my counter value is 0. So that means this is a valid string. But the thing is, this opening count can help us if it is a single type. But here we have three different kind of parentheses. So this approach will not work. We need to know that what different kind of parentheses were there before. So for an example, in this string, I have one opening bracket of this kind, one opening bracket of this kind, and one opening bracket of this kind. So all the three kinds have one opening brackets each, and all brackets have closing bracket each. The value, the frequency of them is 1. But you see that order is very different. Like for this to be closed, I needed a curly braces here, right? Closing curly braces right here. But so here we can't balance them out, because they are just jumbled across, right? So this is not a valid thing. So order also matters. So after following this approach, and after knowing that the count will not going to help us, so what can be done to solve this? Because a single count cannot help us. Even if I take a count of each of the values, that will not help us. I just need to know the exact values which have occurred and in what order they have come. So as the solution, we have been discussing that we need to know the last values which has occurred. So one thing, one data structure that comes to our mind, because we have to deal with the last values also in the order they have come. So stack is a data structure which can give us the last visited thing, right? Last visited thing, and also it can maintain a order. So that is why it in this example, this necessitates to use a stack. So let's just try to dry run and see how stack is going to help us. Let's say for an example, I have this. So I have taken one example here, and I have a stack. So initially, whenever I'll be getting the opening brackets, what I'll be doing is I will be just putting them into the stack, because I know that in future whenever I want to close or I want to balance a closing bracket with the opening bracket, I can use them. Right now, immediately I can't process the opening bracket. So first time I will encounter this, so I'll go and put it in the into the stack. Then I'll encounter this, I'll go and put it into the stack. Again, I'll put it into the stack. So now I got again a opening parenthesis. So I am going to put it into the stack. Now I started getting a closing one. So what I am going to do in this case? So first time I got a closing bracket. So in this now in this particular case, we will see what is the value at the top of my stack. If top of my stack is having the same type is important. So we need to maintain something which can tell us what is the correct type of my current closing bracket. So we need to maintain that in some map or something. We'll see that in the code, that for this one, what is the corresponding opening braces or opening curly braces, right? So in this example, we know, okay, for this one and whatever is on the top, if they are the same, we have the same opening bracket on the stack, then we can go ahead and pop this value from the stack, and I will remove this value from here. So next time I'm getting this. So again, I'll go to the stack and see what is there in the top. If we have a corresponding opening parenthesis in the stack on top of the stack, I'll pop it from the stack, and this will get balanced with that. So this will get removed. Now I'm getting a parenthesis again, and I can see that corresponding opening bracket is present at the top of the stack. So I can go and remove it out. At the last, I'm getting this, the closing square bracket. So I need to see if I have a corresponding opening square bracket on the stack or not. Yeah, we have. So I can just go ahead and remove this. So you can see that my stack is empty now, and I did not found any violation. I did not find any violation. If there would have been a case that, let's see that if I have to process this closing bracket, and on top of the stack I have this opening braces, right? This is a different kind. Both are different. This can't be this can't be balanced with this one. So in that case, I can just return false, that it's not a valid string. So I hope that you have understood that how we are going to solve this. So let's solve this in JavaScript. So as I was explaining, we need to have a stack to keep a count of the opening brackets and see what kind of value I am getting. So there would be two cases, open brackets and the close one. So we will deal the open brackets. If we have open brackets here, I will just directly go and put it into the stack, because opening brackets, we are not going to process them, right? Because they will be getting used in future while we'll be trying to match them with the closing brackets. So opening bracket, I'm directly going to put it on the stack. Else condition will be falling in this else condition if we will be having the closing brackets, right? So here we need to check that what is the top value in the stack. So for getting that, I will pop out the top value from the stack, and if that is not is equal to the current, what is the value that is there in the stack will have the opening brackets, right? And right now I have a closing bracket, so I need to know what is the corresponding opening bracket for my current char. So for that, I need to have a closing map, where I'll give this particular map will tell me, okay, I'm going to provide a closing bracket to this, and this will give me the corresponding opening bracket. So for an example, if I'm giving this closing bracket to this will give me the corresponding opening bracket. Similarly, I can create for other values. So one can be this one. Similarly, we can create for this one. So now I have all the corresponding closing brackets as a key in this map. And now I can go to this map and ask, okay, give me the corresponding opening bracket. So now if the corresponding opening bracket for my current closing bracket, if that is not equal to the top value of the stack. So top value of the stack is basically giving me the recent opening bracket. So now if they are not equal, I mean they are of some different, well, they are not of the same kind, then that means it's not a valid case. So we should return false in that case. Now here we should check whether this is not a closing bracket and this is a opening bracket, right? So we can see that in map we have all the keys as closing bracket. So if whatever I'm getting is not one of the key in this map, that means it's an opening bracket. So what I'm going to check is that whatever I'm getting here, whatever char I'm getting, that is not in this C map, because C map is a closing map, where in map means if this particular key is present in this object. So since in this object only closing brackets are present, and here I'm trying to see whether this opening bracket is present here. So there are no opening bracket in this map, right? So not of this will be false. So I hope this is clear to you. At the last, I might have a case that my stack is still having some value. So there is a case that I have so many opening brackets like this, but there will be some left out opening brackets, right? Because we don't have enough number of closing bracket to balance out all the opening brackets. So in that case, stack will have some value. So we need to check what is the value in the stack, if there is any value. If stack dot length is 0, then in that case we are good, because if stack is empty and we have processed every element and we did not find any violation, because here we were checking for violation, and if we are getting a violation, then we are returning false. If we are not getting any violation and my stack is also empty, there is no opening brackets left in my stack, in that case I can just return true. I could have written specifically true and false from here, but since JavaScript itself will evaluate this to boolean, so we don't need to have this specifically. Now we can run and see if it works. So looks like we have a issue here, and I think we are not returning it from the correct place. We are returning it from the for loop. We could have returned it from the outside of the loop. So now if you run and see that, yeah, it works fine. Let's submit it, and this is working fine for all of the cases. I hope that you have understood the solution well, and you can dry run and try it yourself. You'll get the more understanding out of it. And I hope that you would have liked the video. So please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. There are a lot of content coming in daily. So please keep watching and see you in the next video.